Stay tuned for a Rocky Mountain Ultra Sport presentation of the Pikes Peak Marathon from Manitou Springs and Colorado Springs, Colorado. Beautiful, picturesque, pristine, and breathtaking. All words are applicable to Pikes Peak, which looms some 14,110 feet above sea level in the state of Colorado. Hi again, everybody. I'm Drew Goodman, and we are situated at about 7,500 feet in the town of Manitou Springs for the 34th running of the Pikes Peak Marathon. It is the third oldest marathon in the country, and it is extremely unique, not only because you start at 7,500 feet, but you ascend nearly 8,000 feet. And it is not a conventional 26.2 miles. They go 28 miles in this marathon, finishing times anywhere from 3:30 to 3:40 for our top competitors. Now, normally when you run a marathon, you encounter fatigue and muscle failure and blisters. Well, you'll have all of that, but then factor in hypothermia, perhaps, the loss of body temperature, or hypoxia, the loss of oxygen to the muscles, and this is truly a unique race. Let me bring in Pat Porter, a two-time Olympian, and there's nothing else like the Pikes Peak Marathon, is there?
As you said, Drew, Pikes Peak is, without a doubt, the most grueling race in the United States because it is farther than a conventional marathon, and it starts at an altitude that most people rarely get to. It starts at 7,000 feet and climbs all the way to 14,000 feet, but it's not a paved route by any means. It's strictly a trail, a rugged trail with a lot of sharp and jagged rocks and a lot of chance for injury, as you said, with muscle fatigue, hypoxia, and hythermia taking its toll on the athletes.
Pat, for the top competitors, what are they looking to do the first few miles?
The main thing you have to remember here is you're going to be running much slower than with a conventional marathon. So the best thing to do is to pace yourself to the pace you think you can run throughout the entire race, because you're going to be running much slower at the top. Also at altitude, your body has a temperature to dehydrate much quicker than it does at sea level, so they should be concerned with taking water at every available opportunity on the way.
Now, the final 3 miles, not of the race, but of the ascent, is called the Golden Staircase, and those 3 miles really take up about 1/3 of your race time. What are the Golden Staircases?
The Golden Staircase is the point where you're probably going to hurt the most up on this race. That's the final 3 miles, and it's almost a vertical climb the entire way. They'll be maybe running 10 to 12 minutes per mile up that. That's where you come out of the woods and you can see your goal at the top, but you're going to be running a good 30 more minutes before you finish.
Back in 1956, when this race began, there were only 13 brave souls to begin. Today, over 600 runners will try to ascend some 8,000 feet in the 34th running of the Pikes Peak Marathon. This program is brought to you by American Airlines, something special in the air, serving San Jose, Portland, and Seattle daily from the West Coast. And by the city of Manitou Springs, Colorado, an official sponsor of the Pikes Peak Marathon. Visit Manitou Springs, Colorado, and enjoy its fine restaurants, inns, motels, shopping, and its access to the Pikes Peak National Park. Local time is about 6:30 in the morning. The sun comes up over the Rocky Mountains, and few places are as beautiful. That is the summit of Pikes Peak. The sun has illuminated the peak, but not yet in Manitou Springs. Many of the competitors trickle in, getting last-minute registration done, and the difficulty of stretching muscles that haven't been out of bed for that long. Oh, and yes, there are some yawns, too. 28 miles a round trip for those who finish. Approximately 1.8 miles longer than a conventional marathon. One group a little bit more awake than others is a running group from Arkansas. Some family is arisen early also to send off husbands and wives. And we talked to one of the top competitors, Neal Beidleman. What's the most important factor on the ascent?
Getting up there faster than anybody else. It always matters, you know, that's the final time. The last 2 miles is really hard.
Do you pace yourself to that point, or are you looking at a watch as to where you want to be at a certain point?
Yeah, I'm usually 5 minutes behind every checkpoint I have.
Training in Boulder, how much does that help you?
Oh, it helps a lot. Unfortunately, I've been in California for the last 3 weeks working, so I don't know about this. It's going to be some elevation gain.
I imagine it's entirely exhausting, obviously, for the whole body. Is there a body part that perhaps goes first, the quadriceps, because of the ascent, or what comes to mind?
Usually my head, my mind goes first. No, I don't know. I think if you run smart, that's very important, but you begin feeling a little tightness, and lactic acid sets in a little bit quite a few miles up, and you have to compensate and work through those and just maintain a good attitude and just say, I'm going to make it, and get one foot in front of the other when the going gets real tough. But you do have a lot of variables, like you've mentioned, that really play a part. You just try to have to overcome them and keep a real positive frame of mind.
And they'll try to keep a positive frame of mind over this course, 14.2 miles straight up. This is French Creek, about 3 miles in. We will have a camera location here, and some of the top competitors will begin to separate at this point. Another key location is the Cirque. This is only about 1.5 miles or 2 from the top, and it is a straight drop of some 1,500 feet and then a gentle traverse, and oxygen begins to become a large problem because you're above 13,000 feet. You are now looking at the summit of Pikes Peak, 14,110 feet straight up. Again, the top competitors will descend in about an hour or less, so much of the race is on the way up naturally.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
A mass start of more than 600 runners, all hoping to be around in 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, even a little bit longer than that, as far as time is concerned. And leading the pack out of Manitou Springs, a runner from Mexico, Cleofas Villegas.
That's that one guy in front there?
Yeah. Villegas has never run this race before, and he's going out very, very quickly. He wants to be the first to get to Barr Trail. If you look at his stride, one must wonder how he will fare as we move into this 28-mile loop. And of course, does Villegas' pace, how does it affect the other top competitors? Are they forced now to go out and try to catch the rabbit, or will they lay back and let the rabbit come to them? Absolutely beautiful day in Manitou Springs, the sun quietly coming up. There in the light blue tights, you see Matt Carpenter from Vail, Colorado. He is trying to do something that is absolutely unheard of. He is trying to run a marathon on successive days. Yesterday was the sprint up to the top of Pikes Peak, the 14.2-mile run straight up, and once you get to the top, you are done. He ran that yesterday and finished second. He decided at the last minute that he would attempt to run both. Now, if you're familiar with weightlifting, it takes the body about 48 hours, or the muscles that you use in a weight workout, about 48 miles with which to fully recover from a lifting workout. Carpenter has had less than 24 hours from which to recover from the 14.2-mile ascent he ran yesterday, and ran very well, finishing second place. And now Carpenter moves into second place, and he'll take off the gloves and take off a sweatshirt. He is within 50 yards of our leader right now, Cleofas Villegas. first-time runner from Mexico. Carpenter is 25 years of age. He has his sights set on the 1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona. He wants to run the marathon there, wants to make the U.S. team. Villegas is a little bit confused as to where the trail begins, and somebody points out to him that it's straight ahead. And the rest of the field takes their final steps on pavement. Most of this race will be run on rather difficult terrain. The third oldest marathon in the country, Pikes Peak Marathon. For most of these runners, and some that will walk plenty of the distance, their lone goal is just to finish. They're not worried about the Matt Carpenters and the Villagoses. Such a long way yet to go, just underway at the Pikes Peak Marathon. And back to the marathon, where most of the runners have headed off of Ruxton Avenue, and our leaders are now in their first switchback. And still on top from Mexico, that gentleman is a 32-year-old. His name, Cleofas Villegas, and Matt Carpenter has closed the gap on him. He is only steps away. Now breathing becomes much more labored. Stanley Fox, a winner back in 1986, makes his way up the mountain. Going by there was Sheldon Larson from Boulder, Colorado. Started running in his college days at Arizona.
See her? Yeah.
The top woman at this point, Linda Quinlisk from nearby Cascade, Colorado. Linda won this event a year ago. She looks like she's laboring a bit there. In second place, this is Sharon Foster of the ladies in the red top. And it becomes so steep in places and so narrow that you have to walk. And our group from Arkansas, well, you wouldn't even know that they were in a road race. They're full of energy, playing up to the cameras.
Good job, guys. Good job.
We enter French camp. Matt Carpenter helps out Villegas. Villegas not sure which way the trail went at that point, and Carpenter, who he is competing with, helps him out. First checkpoint, and they pick up some much-needed water.
Good job.
Sheldon Larson carries some of his own and won't grab any at this point. In the early stages of the race, your club runners, so to speak, will still be within breathing distance of the elite runners, but the further up the mountain we go, and as we get closer to the summit at 14,000 feet, there will be a much greater disparity between the elite runners and the rest of the field. Actually, with any marathon, great number of volunteers are needed to make it a success and to keep these runners going strong. There's Sharon Foster. And you see her having a conversation. She won't do a lot of that, or nor will any of the competitors on the way up. It just takes too much oxygen even to speak. We'll come back to Manitou Springs and the Pikes Peak Marathon in a moment. The 34th running of the Pikes Peak Marathon, just south of Denver by about 60 miles in Manitou Springs. And we've had a leader change. Matt Carpenter is overtaken Villegas. And he is the first to reach Barr Camp, where he can refresh for a moment with liquids. He won't pause for very long.
Number one.
And now running second is Sheldon Larson. He won the event in 1987, 3 hours 41 minutes. Cleofas Villegas still in it, but now dropped down to third. So his very quick pace out of the gate has been caught by both Carpenter and Larson. Interested observer.
I'm gonna make it.
We are slightly over an hour and a half into the race, and Matt Carpenter from Vail, Colorado has passed the A-frame, which is about 10 miles out in an hour and 33 minutes, and he's about 7 minutes ahead of the field at that point. Now, Carpenter is one of the favorites. An interesting story. He won in '88. He ran yesterday in the Ascent, the 14-mile Ascent, which is kind of the half marathon straight up. He's the only guy who was crazy enough, I guess, Pat, to try to win both, or he's the only one even competing in both.
Well, Drew, I think Matt Carpenter has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, or something to prove. He's recognized as probably the best mountain runner in the United States right now, and he did get second yesterday, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's running today. But you got to remember, that's a tremendous feat. That's the equivalent of running 2 marathons back-to-back in 2 days, and whether he can hold on to that, I don't know. We will not know if he will keep that lead up until probably the last few miles into this race.
What kind of indication will you have before then that he might be fading, that he might be, what will go first as far as body-wise?
I think his legs, if anything goes, they will go first. He will run and won't be very efficient at all, and he's just going to be all over that trail, and that's where the chance of injury comes in because, like I said, it is a trail. There's a lot of rugged rocks on there, and he could really get hurt, but the first thing that's going to go is him. You watch his legs start to wobble, and I think the other runners are going to key on that too. They know he's run yesterday, and they know he's tired.
How surprised are you that he's 7 minutes ahead at 10 miles out?
Not too surprised. Matt Carpenter has a tendency to run with some reckless abandon, but that's why he wins when he does win. So right now, being 7 minutes ahead is not that fantastic. What we're going to wait to see is if he's 7 minutes ahead at the end of the race.
So right now, Matt Carpenter from Vail, Colorado has set a blistering pace. Carpenter all alone now. He is only a couple of miles from the top. And he gives the thumbs up sign. He's feeling pretty good. He has a computer science degree from the University of Southern Mississippi, where he competed in cross country, and he consistently placed in the top 5 on his team. He has gotten much better since then. Sheldon Larson with a pretty good gait right now. He looks pretty fresh at this point, a past winner. Last couple of weeks, though, he has not trained at altitude. We will see how that affects him. Villegas from Mexico does plenty of training at altitude, but he has faded considerably. Still holding on to 3rd place, though. They're running through the Cirque portion of the course right now. Cirque is a French word. It refers to a mountain bowl, which was formed many, many years ago by the movement of glaciers. Aesthetically, naturally, very, very beautiful. About 2 miles at this point from the summit. And our leader for the ladies remains Linda Quinlisk. She won in '80, she won in '85, and she won in '88. Though she keeps moving, she looks to be laboring a bit. She probably could run this course, and probably does many, many times in her mind. And now Kim Schaefer from South Lake Tahoe has overtaken Sharon Foster for 2nd place. Schaefer lived and trained in Colorado Springs before moving to California in 1987. Foster is smiling, but she's walking right now. That might be a strategy. Some do go out and figure they will walk certain portions of the course and save their legs to be able to be stronger in the portions that they run, which obviously would be most of the 28 miles. Carpenter, though, runs throughout, and he looks very, very good. Keep in mind, as we have said all along, Carpenter ran this yesterday, just the sprint to the top. Easy for us to call it a sprint. It's still 14.2 miles with an ascent of nearly 8,000 feet. And less than 24 hours later, he goes after it again. And Sheldon Larson is probably in disbelief as he chases Carpenter. And Carpenter stumbles a bit as he reaches the 16 golden stairs, 3/8 of a mile from the summit of Pikes Peak, the most difficult terrain on the entire course. From the Cirque through the golden stairs to the top takes 1/3 of the total race time. So that gives you an idea of just how steep and treacherous this portion of the course actually is. This is Jim Heidelberg, 30 years of age, from Colorado Springs. He graduated from Mitchell High School right around the corner. So he has lived in the shadow of Pikes Peak his entire life. And still going along, but not nearly at the pace he once was, Villagos from Mexico. He was our leader as they left Ruxton Street back in Manitou Springs, but now that seems like ages ago to the 32-year-old. Creighton King, a past winner, now in 5th place. And the first to reach the summit and receive a round of applause from the brave souls who are at the top is Matt Carpenter. 14,110 feet. And the temperature at the summit is 40 degrees. Every 1,000 feet that you ascend or descend generally means a difference in temperature of 3 degrees. Sheldon Larson, the second to reach the summit, still more than 7 minutes behind Matt Carpenter. The first recorded effort to climb this peak was by Lieutenant Zebulon Pike. He led an expedition in 1806, and he reached what he thought was the top, but in actuality it was not. It took him several days to take his group to that point. As you look at Jim Heidelberg coming in. So the first person actually to reach the very, very top came in 1820. It was Dr. Edwin S. James, a geologist and historian. Little did anyone know back then that 100 years later they would be trying to race to the top. A few moments ago, you saw a sneaker change. Many of the competitors will change sneakers to a more cushiony sneaker to absorb some of the pounding on the descent. The pounding can be very great. And Villagos comes in at the same time as King, and they make the turnaround. Still in front, Matt Carpenter, and he's opened the lead up to about 8 minutes as he now descends the golden staircase. Now, there are a great many hazards in descending. If you've ever jogged down a hill with rocks on it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The footing is very, very loose. The soil is loose. There are rocks naturally that will move, and you have to be very, very careful. In second place, the graduate student in chemistry from the University of Colorado, Sheldon Larson. Drew Goodman and Pat Porter back at the Pikes Peak Marathon, and Carpenter nearly slips again. Maybe the legs are becoming weary from all the running he has done in the last couple of days, and not only do you have to now worry about the loose soil and the rocks on the descent, but many of the competitors who are still going up the mountain. Collisions are not out of the question. Sheldon Larson holding on to second place. Another factor to be aware of, especially for the volunteers in the medical units, is that of hypoxia, loss of oxygen to the muscles. It could cause confusion, and you don't want to be confused up here. There are drops of some 1,500 feet, as you see right there.
You having fun?
Yeah, you?
Sure.
Hypothermia today will not be a factor. The temperature at the top 40 degrees, it is warming up some. Fourth place now, Creighton King has moved up a notch.
Sorry, bro, sorry.
King from Salt Lake City, Utah. He loves these running conditions. Beautiful day. And Villagos pounds away on the descent. The first lady to reach the summit, our leader throughout, Linda Quinlisk, and she does not look particularly good. She needs a jacket to warm her up. Perhaps hypothermia, a factor we just mentioned, as not being a factor, is affecting her at this point. Carpenter returns to Barr Camp. He'll stop only briefly to drink.
Thank you.
And now he will change the slippers inside his shoes.
See you guys later.
Incredible. He looks very, very strong at this point. He's carrying on conversations with the volunteers, with our camera people. And now he has opened up a 9-minute lead over Sheldon Larson. Jim Heidelberg remains in third place. He's run the entire day without a shirt. Creighton King from Salt Lake City in fourth place. He has gained considerable time on the people in front of him. And he hydrates his body. Imperative over 28 miles that you take in liquids. And Villagos pauses for a moment. He was the one who set such a blistering pace. And again, he might be a little bit confused as to where the course is. There are a number of trails off of the main Barr Trail here. And this is the first time he has ever run here. As a matter of fact, he only registered an hour prior to the start of the race. Got into Manitou Springs at 6 a.m. and began a 28-mile run at 7 a.m., but he's doing pretty well. Drew Goodman back with Pat Porter down in Manitou Springs, the calm of Manitou Springs, only 7,500 feet here. Matt Carpenter is still 9+ minutes ahead of the field. The course record, 3 hours, 26 minutes and 17 seconds. We don't know if he'll reach that, but this is incredible what he's doing on successive days here.
This is the equivalent, Drew, of running more than 2 marathons a day. You figured he ran hard for 2 hours and 6 minutes yesterday. Today he'll be around in the 3 hours and 20 minutes range. His body is tired, he's fatigued, but he does have a 9-minute lead, so hopefully, or for Matt Carpenter's sake, he'll be able to hold on and pull this off. But this is an incredible feat.
Is it possible for anybody to catch him at this point?
It is possible. We'll have to see how his body holds out. He's been running for about 3 hours now, so we're going to be able just to see what'll happen in the last few miles here. If anything will happen, it'll happen now. But he does have that comfortable 9-minute cushion. If he plays his cards right and just runs within himself and not overextend himself, he can pull off this fantastic double.
Now, Pat, you're a 10,000 meter guy, a 5,000 meter guy. You do run distance faster than just about anybody else in the world generally. Anyhow, what's the body feeling like 3 hours into a race like this?
I tell you what, it wants to quit right now. He's depleted his body of glycogen. It wants to just sit down. His body wants more liquids. I don't know if he's been hydrating himself at all throughout this race, but that'll really be a problem if he hasn't been doing that. His body wants to stop right now. It's just now a matter of mind over the power of his legs to run.
Matt Carpenter now with a 9-minute lead as he enters French Creek. About 6 miles to go in the race. As you heard Pat Porter mention a short while ago, he is the most distinguished mountain runner in the country. Sheldon Larson Probably knows about how far behind he is, and he keeps up a solid pace. This is the fastest part of the course, so if Larson is to make his move, he would have to do it here. And King obviously is making his move because he is now in third place. He's overtaken Jim Heidelberg. And there is Heidelberg. He doesn't bother stopping for liquids here. Our ladies leader, Linda Quinlisk. Evidently, we have word she has fallen. Took a tumble, but she's back on her feet. And now Carpenter in the switchback. This is the final section of trail before Carpenter will hit the streets of Manitou Springs and jog down Ruxton Avenue, and he has maintained a 9-minute lead. He was about 7 minutes at the summit, and he's picked up a couple of minutes on the descent. And now Creighton King is in second place, so King gets stronger as the race wears on. Does he have enough to catch Carpenter? There is Sheldon Larson, who was in second place for most of this race, now in third place. He looks pretty good, but with the best running form right now as far as strength is concerned, that is obviously King from Salt Lake City. But Carpenter has not given an inch. He will run some 42 miles in less than 24 hours. Incredible. There's the native of Colorado Springs, Jim Heidelberg. Over 600 runners started today. Back in 1956, the first year this event was competed, only 13 runners dared to go up and down. And another switchback as Jim Heidelberg uses the fence to propel him along. The best time ever on this course was put in by Rick Trujillo back in 1976 when Trujillo rang off a number of consecutive wins. 3:34.15, and now on Ruxton Avenue, and the guy who will win the race for the second consecutive year, Matt Carpenter from Vail, Colorado. A second yesterday on the Ascent, and today he will be victorious, and he looks absolutely splendid. Not a record time, but 3:39.26. Certainly excellent. And you see Quinlisk is taking a tumble, some dirt on her face, a little bit of blood on her jersey, but she's moving along, and I think she even cracked a smile there.
Good time. Hot, hot, hot. You bet. How you doing? Okay? Okay.
She was the first woman last year, wasn't she?
Good job, man.
Pretty good considering. I don't think I'd want to do it again tomorrow, though.
Probably not. But a guy who was exceptionally strong from the top to the bottom was Creighton King, who will finish in second place. He was fifth at the turn. Did your body, after running so hard yesterday, your body fatigue a little bit at all during this race? I mean, you seem strong throughout.
I felt it around 13,000 feet, but, you know, I feel it no matter what. Even last year when I just ran one, there's something about tree line that turns me into mush. But, I mean, I was aware that I was going to feel it, and I was mentally prepared. I was more mentally prepared for this race. I've been preparing for this race all year, and yesterday's was a last-minute decision, so I don't think I had the mental focus for yesterday. Today I was focused, and I was well aware of what I could get into by running both of them. So just being mentally prepared was what let me do it.
For you, is it a feeling, a special feeling, or a euphoric feeling that you're able to do two absolutely grueling races back-to-back, unheard of?
Well, as I said, I'm really happy with today, and I'm upset with yesterday, so the average is okay.
Back in Manitou Springs at the finish line, women's runner Linda Quinlisk still on course. She won it in 1988, finished in a time of 4 hours, 29 minutes, and 59 seconds, so just about 4.5 hours. By the way, Carpenter, who finished in 3:39 and change this year, was at 3:38 and change last year, so a little over a minute separates his time of a year ago. And last year, I don't believe he pulled the double. 42 miles in 2 days after running the Ascent yesterday and finishing in second place. Kim Schaefer remains in second place for the ladies. And in third place, Foster. Did you have a shot at Carpenter? Did you realize how close he was at all?
I gave him too much thought. I thought there was a chance when I saw that I wasn't too far behind him on the turnaround that if he really blew up, I might catch him. But so I went as hard as I could down. You never know what might happen.
Are you amazed at all that he was able to run both days?
I am totally amazed. He's phenomenal. I'm yeah, and as well as he's done both ways. It's just unbelievable.
How did you feel physically?
I felt a little uncomfortable in the early going up the incline, and I started to feel a little bit better as I got higher up. And by the time I got to the turnaround, I was feeling really strong. You know, I didn't notice the altitude as much as I expected to, and because I haven't been up there that much.
And finishing in third place from Boulder, Colorado, Sheldon Larson. He held second for most of the race before King overtook him on the descent. And the guy who led the pack at the very beginning, first-time runner from Mexico, Cleofas Villegas, finishes up pretty strong in under 4 hours. And I think if you talk to Villegas, he'll probably tell you, if I run this again, I won't go out quite as quickly as I went out this year. And Linda Quinlisk, a little bit battered, but finishing in strong fashion. Boy, she'll sleep well tonight. 4 hours, 41 minutes. Not her best time, but she is now a victor for the 4th time at the Pikes Peak Marathon. And back-to-back victories for Linda.
Here, Sponge. Oops.
We're talking with 4-time Pikes Peak winner Linda Quinlisk. Congratulations, Linda. You have a little bit of a problem out there.
Yes, I fell straight on my head at 2 miles coming down the hill. They were going to take me off, and I said, no. So, and then my balance just wasn't that good coming down. This was the tiredest I've ever been running this race, and it's just a miracle that I finished. I'm just overwhelmed.
The fall happening so early into the race, did you ever have any considerations of dropping out?
Well, it was on the way down. 2 miles on the way down, yeah.
It was on the way down. Having won the sport.
You know, when you're at the top, lead in the top, you hate to give it up.
So Matt Carpenter wins it for the men in 3 hours, 39 minutes, 26 seconds. Creighton King second, nearly 12 minutes behind Carpenter, who ran 42 miles in 2 days. For the ladies, Linda Quinlisk in 4 hours, 41 minutes, 51 seconds. Not her best time, but she is now a 4-time winner. Then Schaefer and Foster. And for many of the others, unlike Carpenter and King, who look so fresh at the finish line, others will need some medical attention. Many of the volunteers and medical personnel work on cuts from the falls. Most of those suffered on the descent. Blisters abound. And there is an entire massage tent set up to help relax just about the entire body. You can imagine what calves and thighs and quadriceps feel like about now.
He's getting my best side, you know.
So Matt Carpenter does it for the second consecutive year, really runs 2 marathons in 2 days. And in second place, Creighton King from Salt Lake City, Utah, past winner. But the story, Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter pulled off an incredible double today. I can't imagine somebody even wanting to do that, let alone attempting to do that. He said he ran well within himself, ran hard when he felt like it, and didn't run hard when he didn't feel like it. And it turned out to be a perfect combination, and he just blew the competition away today, which is an incredible feat considering how hard he had to run yesterday.
So for Pat Porter, I'm Drew Goodman saying so long from the Pikes Peak Marathon, the 34th running, and Manitou Springs, Colorado. And this program has been brought to you by Manitou Springs. Visit Manitou Springs and enjoy its fine restaurants, inns, motels, shopping, and its access to the Pikes Peak National Park. And by Mountain Athlete, high altitude endurance sports journal. The executive producer of the Rocky Mountain Ultra Sports Series has been Jack Stanfield. The producer for Prime Sports, Kelly Butler. This event produced and directed, as always, by Tom Tatum.